Hello, this is Alex Eachus from AMT Cybex. This is a short demonstration from a user experience perspective of our mobile data capture solution for work and asset management and geospatial, something called Affinity Mobile. Affinity Mobile is multi-platform, so iOS, Android, and Windows. It's also multi-device, so runs with the same UX, UI on a smartphone or a tablet. I'm using an iPad here, or a laptop, a ruggedized laptop. It also has full disconnected viewing capabilities, so connectivity is needed at some time, maybe on a daily basis, to receive work orders or to receive delta changes to network maps. But when you're out in the field carrying out tasks or navigating maps or capturing data from the map, internet connectivity is not needed to use the functionality and capability. Okay, so let's just log on to these work orders to receive my work orders. So here we have a list of work orders, but I may also want to see these work orders plotted against a map background, and preferably a map coming from our GIS system rather than the devices map, such as Apple Maps or Google Maps. So I'm just going to click on this button in the bottom right corner, Geofield, that will take me to my network spatial maps. Okay, we've got 6 work orders on view here. I'm just going to zoom in on this one in the bottom middle. Let's get the attributes for that work order so we can see the geometry and the latitude and longitude. So let's just click on this button at the bottom here, this icon, and that should take me to the work order. It does indeed, so let's sign on to this work order. And now the next thing I want is to click on scripts. So scripts in our language are the individual tasks that make up the completion of this work order. I've got 5 different items here. I'm just going to pick 2 for the purposes of this demo. So this is the gas escape risk assessment process, which is a series of questions, and there will be some interaction with data that is required from the map. So I'll show you the interaction between the form and the map. It should also be noted that this form is fully owned by the business, so if you want to set it up in the first place, or once it's set up, modify, amend, add, delete, then essentially you the customer, the business, then own this form, this process. Okay, so it's PE, it's low pressure, and I'm actually choosing items from a pull-down menu, but this is probably could be an example of where I go and grab the data from the map and it answers the questions for me, and I will show an example of that later on in this form. Okay, so here's a question that involves me interacting with a map. I have 2 choices, so either my own network maps that are essentially being pulled from the GIS and are resident on the device, or I could just choose a location using the embedded Apple map or Google map. But in this case, I definitely want the spatial data, my own spatial network data. So I'll show you an example of that. So let's just choose location from map. And let's zoom in on this pipe area here. Okay, so I think I'll just choose the point where these 2 125mm PE pipes intersect. So I'm just going to click at that point there, and that embeds that data into that question in the form. I could also be having the map interacting, as far as data capture is concerned, with say a gas sniffing device, if that's where I wanted to get the reading from, or it could be as part of an ASLAID workflow where I'm actually where they're digging up the ground, and I'm making advantage of the ability to see the pipe in question and capture some very high accuracy GPS coordinates, say from a third-party high-accuracy GNSS receiver. Okay, so let's just click there. Let's just get through this form. Okay, I don't have any other comments to make. So I've finished 26 of 26. I'm now going to close this form, save and exit. And if I have connectivity, then the data captured as part of this form can leave the machine, or if all 5 tasks have to be completed, so they're mandatory, then once the 5th task that makes up this work order is completed, if I have connectivity, then that data will leave my machine. Okay, we find ourselves back in the 5 scripts, the 5 tasks that make up work order number 7. I've got 2 at the bottom here, customer area affected and leak investigation area. I'll only pick one of them, but they're both quite similar in the fact that they involve me drawing a polygon on the map. So the customer area affected might be a polygon that I draw around a number of properties that may be affected by this potential gas leak. The command and control center may need to receive that data, perhaps in near real time. So that they can then visit those properties or have a good understanding of what properties are potentially going to be affected before, during and after the gas leak investigation. But I also want to record the area of pipe, which having taken a number of readings along the length of the pipe, I can now start to ascertain where we think the leak is coming from. So I'm just going to do that by clicking on this leak investigation area script. Okay, so it wants me to get some geometry, so I'm just going to click on Get Geometry. Here's one I did earlier, so I just press the star button, that will delete that, and then I can start drawing the new polygon. So I may have taken a series of readings along the length of this pipe section here, but it's only this middle section here that we think is where the potential leak is coming from. Okay, and that data that I've just captured there, as soon as I press the tick on the map, then that fills in the question in my work order. So I'm now going to save and exit. So that was a good example of where I didn't have to exit one system from one vendor and then essentially open another system from another vendor. What you just saw is essentially the same application from the same system from the same vendor, namely us, which results in a unified user experience for the fieldwork and making it easier to get the job done. Okay, so just to conclude, so utilities tell us that they find it difficult to easily react to changing business needs. For example, a business process change means that existing data collection forms need to be edited, modified. A new field perhaps to collect some additional asset data, a new button, a new pull-down menu item. Maybe the need to take 2 photographs instead of 1 at a particular part of an inspection process, or that they simply need to build a new task, a new script, a new workflow from scratch. And it's something that they want to be able to build and manage themselves, whether it's forms or interaction with the map or a mixture of both. So this is why we provide intelligent dynamic scripting within Affinity Mobile, meaning that you, the business, owns the process of writing, modifying and publishing the forms that exist on the mobile device, including any spatial interaction with your network data and maps. This negates the need to have to engage with the software vendor, namely us, thus increasing flexibility through reducing the time to implement these changes and saving expenditure in the process too. So in summary, what I've shown you is how field workers can view their work orders on the device and then can view the location of that work order on their network maps by seamlessly switching to map view from task or work order view. And also how the user can select and open that work order form seamlessly from a map view to revert back to a form or a list view to complete their work. I then showed you how, again, the user can switch out of the form view and use the map to capture XY information, polygon, polyline, point, geospatial data. Maybe it's linear asset information as well. and that can seamlessly populate the relevant forms within tasks or work orders. I've also explained how the forms are dynamic and intelligent, which enables the business to build, modify and publish forms to its field workers independently of any vendor contribution. And I've also explained that all of this can operate in a fully disconnected environment. So all of the functionality and capability and work orders, tasks and network maps available in a disconnected environment. So not relying on a mobile signal to be able to get your work done. And that's across multiple devices and multiple operating systems. Thank you very much for listening and watching.